Hello, my name is Miele. I am a tutor, a teacher, a parent, and the founder of Evolved Education Company. We are a full-service tutoring and advisement company for all of your educational solutions. On this podcast, we'll explore ideas, techniques, and resources that you can use to support your school-aged child to conquer any learning issue. I'm so glad you're here. Hello, everyone. We are here for the August edition of the Evolved Education podcast, and we are also videotaping this on our YouTube channel to give us a bit more exposure for the podcast. So school is starting in many parts of the US right now, and in New York, we will be starting right after Labor Day. So this is a podcast for parents of school-age children to make sure that you have as many resources as you can possibly have to support your child to learn well. And today I have Jenna Hermans on the podcast. She wrote a book, which I love. It is called Chaos to Calm: 5 Ways Busy Parents Can Break Free from Overwhelm. And what's not to be overwhelming about back to school? Am I right? It is a time of transition. And so whenever we have a transition, and as a learning specialist, I'll explain what's happening in the brain, right? There is going to be a new set of neural pathways that are formed because we're all doing new things. And that takes good energy. It takes a really, really good plan, and it takes support. And I really think that Jenna's book is going to arm us with what we need to get through this transition with aplomb. Let's just call it that, right? So I am super excited to introduce Jenna. I'm going to turn it over to you, Jenna, just to give us some background about you and why you wrote this book. And then we'll get right into the book so that people can get to know some of these tools that you've developed. And then, of course, we'll end with, where do you get this book? And you should get it. You can have it on Audible, which is where I found mine. Put it in my earbuds, and I've been walking around listening to this book and stopping every so often to throw things into my notes section of my book of things I want to do. So it's been really, really valuable. So Jenna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Mary. I'm so excited to be here.
Wonderful. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and then why did you write this book?
Yeah, so my background is that I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I have a master's degree in organizational management. I've been doing HR, culture, learning and development for over 15 years, and I ran a preschool for over 5 years as well. I'm currently the COO and co-founder of a business called Be Courageous, where we infuse courage and now calm into businesses, starting from startups and small businesses all the way to Fortune companies as well. And I'm also a certified high performance coach.
Very nice. So that's an amazing set of skills. We all really are going to benefit from your background. I just know it. So what prompted you to write this book? I've written many books. I know what an undertaking it is. And you're a mom too. I know you have 4 children, correct? Yes.
Right. I forgot to say that part, right? I did all the things on paper. I'm also a mom of 4, and their ages are 6, 13, 15, and 16. And the eldest 3 are my children in love. And the youngest, the 6-year-old, is an hours child with the big kids, dad and me together. And I wrote this book because I needed this book. About, it was 9 years ago that we moved from Los Angeles to Marin, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. And after we moved here, we had to start life fresh. We had no friends or family or built-in community. We just got married. We had 3 kids. And then shortly after that, added the 4th. And shortly after that, started our business. And I found myself in this identity whiplash, right? Of who am I? What am I doing? And why am I doing this? And on top of that, I have no one around to talk to. I have no community and people who I feel close with or feel like have our back, right? As a family in this new place that we are. And my nervous system took a huge toll because of that. I was having anxiety attacks and panic attacks on the regular. And there was one particular day where I was on the breast pump because the youngest wouldn't latch. So, the displeasure of sitting for hours a day, pumping away. And my husband was traveling for work at that time because we had started our business, and he was hustling, getting new clients for us while I'm on the back end building the infrastructure of our business. And the baby is sleeping. I'm on the laptop, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh goes the breast pump, and the kids are about to come home from school, needing snacks and attention and homework help and love. And I have to start thinking about dinner soon. And I had yet another panic attack of this is all just way too much. And my body responded so heavily yet again. And coming out of that panic attack, I had a download. I had, that was one of those moments of like, aha, right? Of I don't want to live this way anymore. This is not me enjoying the life that I've created. I'm barely surviving it, but that's not how I want my life to go. And I have so many skills and I have so much education and background on how to make this life run so much more smoothly. And from that day forward, I made the intentional choice to change the system using, again, what I have from my formal education, from my HR background and building teams and culture work. Like the home is like a mini business. Mm-hmm. How can we create the culture at home that we want to have, just like we do in our businesses? I
just have to pause you right here because I'm just having this huge aha moment, which is to say, did you guys notice what she said? She said, I just noticed that this wasn't working. And it's almost as if you did. I mean, not almost as if you looked around and you said, this can be better. And then you looked at what you have skill-wise to be able to solve that problem, which I think is such an amazing example of what's possible when we encounter problems as parents, as educators. You can rely on what your training is, what your education is, what you have to offer that particular problem. And yours happen to be all of these systems and this organization, and your understanding of how to run a business now is going to inform the solution for what you came up with, which is so just, wow, amazing. So exciting.
Yeah, and that's something that so many people miss, right? Mm-hmm. We have these skills and these learnings that we have from one area of life, and we forget that we can carry those over into other areas as well, right? And because we have so many skills and talents that we learn in these various areas of our lives. And when we can take them and kind of adapt them to our other areas, we become so much more comprehensively skilled in everywhere.
That's right.
So
I love that.
And that's what I did. So for about a year and a half, I implemented things, trial and error. I was absorbing information like crazy on, okay, what do I already know? And the skills and experiences I already have that I can bring into the home. Let's trial it all out. In addition to let me go and do lots of reading and research on what can be done to support my mind, my body, my spirit, my family as a whole. And about a year and a half, I spent just really intentionally implementing all of that. And life was, from that, let's say 18 months before to 18 months after, it was a whole different life that I was living. And I was a different person. Like you wouldn't recognize me from one place to the next, right? And it was an amazing time. And what was interesting, and I'm getting to the story of why I wrote this book, was because our youngest started preschool at that time, like 18 months later, roughly, he starts preschool. And as anyone knows, as a first-time preschool parent, right, everyone wants to get to know each other. Where are you from? What do you do? How many kids do you have? All the things. And so I'm sharing our story. Oh, we moved here from Los Angeles. I work full time. My husband travels. We have 4 kids, and people are looking at me flabbergasted. They're like, wait, so you must have family nearby that help you? No. Oh, you must have hired help because you have so many responsibilities. No, I don't. And I'm getting asked constantly, how are you managing? Like you also have like your stuff together, right? You're like dressed and your hair is brushed.
If you're not watching the video, you could see she looks amazing.
Thank you. My hair is a little wet, but thank you.
I love it.
It's like, I don't look completely disheveled dropping off, the 2-year-old to preschool. And they're like, what is your secret? What are you doing? I'm like, well, I have these systems in place, and here are the things that I do in my home and the things that I do for myself. And constantly the response was, you need to write a book. I would so read that book because I need everything that you're doing. I need. And I sat there and I was thinking about this of like, wait a minute. So I have seemingly more responsibilities than most with fewer resources and support than most. And I'm doing things that others aren't, which I didn't know, because becoming a mom of 3 overnight and everything else that was going on, I didn't know that these are not things that everyone else had already figured out or had done, starting with like, you have 1 kid and then 2, and then whatever it is, that you have that slow buildup of how you run a home, going from being a very single person to being a parent and a partner and all of that. Right. So I sat with that for about a year. I was sitting thinking, what am I doing differently? Or just what am I doing in general that is really helping my home and helping me to show up as the best version of myself, so that, I can be not so disheveled and put myself together and feel good in this life, because that's how I feel. And I journaled for about a year and a half almost. And at the end of that time, where all of a sudden I had this moment of feeling like, oh, I feel complete. I've written everything I need to write about what I'm doing here. And at that point, I figured there's a lot of content here. I could probably put this into a book. And that was the beginning of Chaos to Calm.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. I think it's also just something I want to put into the ears of our listeners, because we have parents, we also have educators who are listening, and at Evolved, we support parents and we support educators. And many educators will come to me and say, I really have this idea. I want to do this. I think it would be helpful. Everyone's asking me how I teach this or how I support this. And I just would love to show you this example of Jenna, who had this idea. People were telling her, this is really helpful. You should write it down. I do think we should do that. I think that if you have a solution for something, it's important to share it, because the people who need it will find you. And I'm so happy to find your book. So let's get into it. I would like the listeners and viewers to understand a little bit more about the book. And I really, again, encourage you to read it and listen to it, because there's going to be so much more in the book than what we're going to be able to get to today. But why don't you first just maybe give us let me not control the narrative too much. Why don't you tell us listeners what you want us to know about the book? What are some things that you feel are the most important things for us to know coming in to reading this book?
So I would say the first thing is that it's not just for parents, right? Mm-hmm. That this book, the foundation of what the tools and tactics and techniques are within this book, are for anyone who's feeling like there's too much, or they're overwhelmed, their nervous system is fried, and just they feel like they're in this constant like stress cycle or too busy, right? That it's just all too much. That anyone who considers themselves busy and wants to have a better handle on that, they feel like they're owning their life and their life is not running them, that this book is for them. So that is number one. And number two, that the tools and tactics are very simple, and it comes down to 5 different pillars of calm. Oh, look, one of my children have joined us. Hi, Seiji. My lovey, I'm going to finish up here, okay? And I'll be up in a little bit. Yes, you can, but then you can, I'll be up in a little bit after this call. Perfect. Apologies to your listeners.
No, you don't even have to apologize. I always tell actually my staff that we have a rule here, and it is, we never apologize about taking care of our children. If we need to go to something, we have to run to the hospital, we got to go to the parent teacher conference, I say, do it. That's what you're supposed to do. So exactly. I'm sharing the rule with the world. That's the rule, everybody.
Yay, now everyone has permission. Perfect.
Love it.
Perfect.
Okay, carry on.
So
you were saying that there's these 5 pillars. Perfect. Go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the 5 pillars of calm. The first one is efficiency. So how do we get done the things that we have to in the best possible way, using our time and energy most efficiently, so that we can create space, time, energy for the things that we want to be doing, not just what we have to be doing. Right. And then the second pillar, oh, you're back.
I need to call everyone left and I'm no one to play with.
Okay, Mia's here. You can go play with Mia, or you can go do your art upstairs that you were finishing from yesterday. But I'm going to be on this call for the next minutes, and then I'll be back with you. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, you can, but you need to close the refrigerator. Great. So the 5 pillars of calm, the first one is efficiency, right? How do we get done the things that we have to do in a way that best utilizes our time and our energy so that then we can create more space and time for the things that we want to be doing. So it's utilizing, like I said, calendar, your time, understanding your energy flows, and using those to dictate how and when you do the things that you have to or want to be doing.
Yeah.
So that's concept number 1. And then number 2 is habits, right? Understanding and having the self-awareness around what are the habits that serve you and your calm, and then the ones that don't, the ones that aren't serving you, and how to then replace them, ditch them, right? The ways that then you can utilize that you already have this neural pathway for this set habit, but how do you replace it with something then that benefits you versus not?
Yes. Love that.
And then the third is community. How do you utilize the people around you, right? Because one, we just need it so much as human beings. We are designed to be communal creatures, to be belonging somewhere, feel like we belong, right? And as you know, if we go back to what Brene Brown has been saying about the concept of belonging versus fitting in, right? It's like that you are appreciated and loved and included for exactly who you are, not just because you look and act like everybody else. So having a place where you feel like you belong, and not just in your home, which yes, of course is important that you feel like you belong here, but in your work, in your community, that you have this sense of groundedness, that you are loved and appreciated and supported for what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and to get support for what you need in this world with your family, with your business, with your job, whatever it is that you need support on. And so bringing the right people in and exiting the wrong people out, or creating distance from those whom don't serve our calm, right? And that's something that I know is a little touchy for some people, and is hard to do, especially when you work with some of these people or they are very close to you and your family. But there are ways to be able to create distance and to feed in and fill in the gaps with those people that really fill your cup versus drain you.
Definitely. That's a great one.
The 4th pillar is communication, right? How do we listen and get heard to get the support that we need? Because again, as it pertains right to our community and the people we have around us, how do we build relationships, trust and rapport with those people around us, whether they live in our house, right, with our partners, with our children, or if they live outside of our house as well, with our in-laws and family and colleagues and whatnot, that we can build these strong relationships so that then we can communicate most effectively to get the support that we need so that we can get that calm.
Great.
And then the last and the best one, the 5th pillar of calm, is self-care, right? Which is such a buzzword right now in marketing. And it's like, add this, skin product to your pivotal self-care routine. And it's like, no, I'm not talking about surface level self-care. I'm talking about systemic, deep, sustainable self-care. The things that you do that take care of you for much longer than a face mask being put on for those 20 minutes, or getting your nails done. And those things are all great. Getting a massage, getting a pedicure, they're phenomenal, right? And for anyone who has the time and the money to do those on the regular, I mean, all the power to you. But self-care, as it pertains to calm, is about what are the things that you do that nurture you, that fill your cup, that give you the space to feel like you are being nurtured. And that is all laid out in these are much more fleshed out in the book.
Yes, they really, really are. So great. So thank you for those overview of the 5 pillars. What I want to do now is just give you some more pointed questions about this time of going back to school that we're encountering. And perhaps you could give us some advice using 1 or 2 of those pillars and maybe an idea that you present in the book to help parents with what I know is on our minds going into this time. So let's just take the first question, which is, I have so many forms coming home from school for all of my children. Everybody seems to need a medical form. Then there are 5,000 emails coming in about different events that we need to go to. And I've got to order supplies. Oh, and by the way, all of the kids need certain clothing for certain teams. And I've got to also put their after school schedules somewhere. There's just a lot of paperwork, let's just say, that I have to handle as it pertains to back to school. What if I'm sitting in that overwhelm? I'm certainly not feeling calm right now. There's just so much information coming in, right? What can I do right now in that time? And then what can I do so that you mentioned, I don't ever want to be in this position again. And I know it's going to come again next year. So what could I do for a right now solution? And then what could I do for going forward solution?
Yeah. So right now solution is firstly to take a deep breath, right? A deep breath. And remember that none of these things that are on the list of things to do are actually emergent issues, right? They're not things like your kid is hurt, that you have like that. This is so timely that if you don't do it, then there's something catastrophic that's going to happen, right? These are all things that, yes, that need to get done. But in the grand scheme of things, they are not so like, they're not, if they don't get done in a timely way, or if you do them with your half-baked mind or whatever, like there's not these huge catastrophic consequences to it.
Good.
Getting kind of back to grounded, centered, like everything is actually okay. Our nervous system is just responding because it feels so overwhelmed, and it thinks, like, the nervous system doesn't know the difference between, oh my gosh, there's a bear that's about to attack me. Do I flight or freeze? Or I feel so overwhelmed by all of these documents and the shopping that has to get done and all of the things, right? So first, acknowledging that everything is actually okay. You are safe, and everything it's just paperwork. It's just stuff. So that's step number 1.
Okay. Got you. It's just stuff. I got it. Took the breath and it's just stuff. Okay. Got it. Now
it's just stuff. Now what? So the next thing to do is, 1, to be proactive, right? Like, what are the things that you can get done ahead of time? Like maybe it's the back to school shopping, right? That you can do earlier than later, not waiting, right? And saying, well, school only starts in 3 weeks. Let me wait until that point to go do the shopping. No, get it done sooner. You don't have to wait. If you can't, don't, right? Get it done. And then that part is finished. Take it off the list. Another thing you can do is actually write down, right? Here are all the things that I need to be doing. I have the shopping, I have the forms, I have the emails to go through, and the registrations and yada, yada. Write it all down and figure out, okay, after you see it all there, 1, you might feel, yes, overwhelmed. 2, you might be like, oh, okay, this is all doable. I can do all of this. And what are the things that are urgent that need to get done straight away? What are the things that need to get done later? What if I do this? And then how does that cascade across the other things, right? And then and some of it, like the school forms, they only come after school starts, right? For some of those. So when they come, then they come. Being anxious and worried about them when school hasn't even started yet and the forms aren't in front of your face is, to quote Van Wilder, because what a fun movie, worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. So there's absolutely no benefit to being stressed about something that hasn't even happened, right? That's not even here yet. And I know that's so much easier said than done, right? Because that's worrying and stress and overwhelm in a nutshell. But truly, the documents, when they come home from school, you wait till they're all here. Wait till they're all collected. Wait till the end of the week or the end of the second week even, and say, okay, let's wait till they're all here and get them done all at once. versus like, oh, one came in, let me fill it out. Oh, another one came in, let me fill it out. Because then you just feel like you're in this constant state of filling out paperwork. But rather, if you can put them all together and get in the mindset, all right, we're filling out the doctor's forms, we're filling out the emergency forms, or like all at once, your brain is in that space, and you don't have to keep transitioning and pivoting your mind back and forth between paperwork thing, oh, next day, paperwork thing, and because it's not serving you.
Wow. That's a really great. I love that last, I loved all of it, but that last, strategy was really, really great. I can understand that because when I work, so in the learning specialist work that we do with students, we're constantly telling them that same thing, which is just don't jump from one assignment to the next, to the next, to the next. Finish one assignment thoroughly, then go to the next, because your brain has to make that transition. It's almost like inertia. You have to actually give your brain that activation energy to transition to the next task. So I love your idea of, we call it batching, right? Like, so batching the work and just doing that work until it's finished, or gathering it all, doing it all at once. I love that. That's a really nice strategy. That will be a game changer for us back to school time. So I loved the part, I remember well, first of all, there was two things in the beginning of the book. You were talking about efficiency, and you were talking about, and it's interesting that you end with self-care, but I feel like self-care is essential to being efficient, right? Because you talked about sleep and eating, and just if you don't have those kinds of things in place, you don't necessarily have efficiency. And as a parent, some of us can relate to this, where we will stay up very late because it's our time to be on our own. And then in the morning, it's very hard for us to get up. And it's in the morning that we actually need to use so much of our executive functioning. But if we're working very late into the night, it can be exhausting to get up in the morning and get through what we need to get through. So it becomes a cycle. And I really liked that part of the book that you talked about sleep, because you talked about going to bed earlier. And many parents might think that's really hard to do, but you don't have to. It's not an all or nothing thing, I would say, first of all. But I think it's also something that another podcaster, Mel Robbins, you might follow her. She talked about the early morning routine, and the best way to have a morning routine and be successful with it is actually your PM routine. And if your PM routine allows you to stop your brain and go to sleep, you're going to have a much better chance of getting up in the morning and getting yourself going. So I guess I just wanted to, this is my long-winded way of sort of bringing in some concepts here, but I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I found very effective in that chapter on efficiency, to do that which you're teaching us, which is to be efficient, right? So can you talk more about how that played out for you, and or if there's another even nugget of advice you can give us that has a similar correlation to what I'm talking about with the sleep and how it affects kind of, and has that it's almost like a trickle down effect, I guess is what I'm talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It all ripples out, right?
Sure.
Where you start in one area, that ripples out into the others, right? That if you're doing something that's benefiting you, like getting more sleep, you're more likely to show up the next day with more executive functioning and more intentionality, creative problem solving, right? You're more able to respond versus react in moments. And that is then cascades into these other areas of making decisions and choices and having dialogue with your kids and your colleagues and all that in a better, more efficient way. And so I love that you brought up the concept of, the night before, your routine the night before dictates your next morning, because it's so true that these routines that we can build for ourselves support ourselves, not just in those moments, but they're anchoring for hours from now, for days from now, for weeks from now. And I like to talk about the concept of efficiency and habits as an investment account, right? Like a high interest bearing savings account, let's say. And so when you choose to follow through on a habit or to create those efficiencies for yourself, right? Whether it's your night routine where you start slowing down and you go off screens and maybe do a night meditation or reading, these things that really get you into a good sleep mode so that then you can start the next day well. when you do all of that, and I think I just lost my own train of thought in this, which is really fun.
Yeah. When you do all
right.
of that, right. I mean, you wake up and you have that, but I think what you're talking about is when you create these habits for yourself that do the things that you know you need to do to be efficient, then you have more success. Long-term.
Oh, the savings account, the interest side.
Yes, thank you. You both foster.
Thank you. I have ADD, and sometimes that happens where I get I throw myself off course, but I come back typically.
Yes, I love it.
So by creating these habits, right, and creating these efficiencies for yourself, you're putting investments into this account that then pay dividends later.
Yes.
Right. And the more frequently you do it, the more consistent you're with it, the higher the interest, right? The higher the return is as you keep doing it. So the same thing with exercise, right? Let's say that you know that when you exercise in the morning, that's my thing, is that I exercise every morning. I wake up, brush my teeth, go and exercise, and then kind of get the day going from there. And yes, there's other things that I do, but I'm, for simplicity's sake, sharing that.
Yeah.
And by doing that, not only am I setting myself up for the day with higher energy, even when I am exhausted, right? But I am coming back with more energy. I have all the happy hormones going. So I'm in a better mood because of the natural endorphins and dopamine and serotonin that I'm getting from moving my body. And then I'm also getting stronger as well. And so all these things cascade so that in a couple of months from now, I'm fitter, I'm stronger, I'm a happier person overall. I'm a calmer parent to my kids and a much better partner to my husband because I am doing this thing and it's now become a part of who I am at my core, right? Versus there's just this thing that I do, but it's actually, right, with habits, especially if you say, show me your habits and I'll show you your future. Right. The things that we do now are these investments for who you're investing in your future self to be. Right. And so the efficiency of it is knowing, okay, there are these things that I know that I have to do, whether that's building a curriculum. I need to fold the laundry. I need to make meals and get birthday cards and plan a party and a vacation. Right. What are the best times for you to use your mental faculties, right? That executive functioning that you talked about, and to utilize those things at the right times of when I have more brain bandwidth versus less. And then times of day as well, of knowing how I'm going to structure my days to make sure that I'm getting those things done, but I'm also creating space for myself so that I can have time to turn off my brain for a minute so I can come back refreshed, so that I can do a little movement, maybe have a little dance party in between meetings or while the kids are at recess or something, right? And structuring out the day so that it is supporting the goals that you're trying to reach. And one of those being calm.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. And I love that you have a really clear goal, which is to seek that calm. I think that's a very good anchor. And I just want to pivot quickly as we're sort of closing up, but I do want to speak to teachers just briefly, because we do have the teaching school happening here, and each month we have a talk, and I'm going to be sharing this with the community as well. And I want to talk about the self-care component of it, because I, just like you, have a platform where I speak with teachers about the importance of having self-care. But I always feel like, similar to you, I have to explain what I mean by that, because again, we unfortunately have this vision of this very surface self-care, which we are both not talking about. And I'm certainly not talking about that with teachers. I'm talking about the kind of self-care that exudes, I've given a real look at myself, and I care very much about myself. And I care so much about myself that I'm going to set some boundaries, and I'm going to do the work, Jenna, that you're teaching in your book. And I'm going to look at my day of teaching and be intentional about where I'm putting my energy and where I'm not putting my energy. Very often teachers that I work with, and believe me, I've been there too myself, we are in sacrifice of ourselves within our career. And it's not our fault. There's systemic, feeders into this paradigm. And I talk about that in the book, and Aware, that is out, and it is an experience for educators to unpack some of this. And yet it's hard work, right? And so I think what I want to ask you is, could you give us some ideas that teachers could take with them if they're going to have a goal, which this year, which is calm? I'm going to create more calm in the work that I'm doing. What would you say that self-care could look like?
So I would start with the basics, right? And what I like to call the brilliant basics. And it's a list again of 5 things. I love the number 5.
Yes.
It seems. And it is an incredibly unsexy list, but that's why they're basics, right? And so I've made an acronym for them to make it easier to remember what they are. And the acronym is the word cheer. Yay, cheering, right? Excitement and cheering for self-care.
Yes, that is brilliant. Keep going. Love it.
First letter C stands for connection, right? Connecting with what's not under your roof, what's not in your device and on your screen, connecting with the world outside of you, whether that's people, right, that make you feel like I'm more than just an educator, I'm more than just a parent, I'm more than just a partner, right, that make me feel full and light me up. And then also with nature as well, right? It's just connection to more than just what our day-to-day responsibilities and pressures and stressors are, to take us out of that and remind us that we're so much more than the day-to-day. And then the second letter is H, which stands for hydrate, right?
Oh, yes.
Watering ourselves, just like we do with our plants, because otherwise they wither away and die. So do our cells when they are not hydrated, so that we can literally, the body can have all the fluid that it needs to, that all the cells can activate and be used and not shriveled. When we're dehydrated, things start to not work so well. Biologically, the organs, right, they are functioning with less capacity because they need to be hydrated in order to work at the optimal levels. So by hydrating yourself, you are allowing your brain, your body, and everything to work at their optimum levels and activators. The third letter, which is the first E, is eating well. Being intentional and thoughtful about what the energy is that you're putting into your body. Because so often, I know parents, right, especially, we do this so often that we forget to feed ourselves. We'll bring snacks for our kids and water bottles for our kids, right? And cute little hydro flasks and all the things. And we forget to do that for ourselves. And even when we do think, oh my gosh, I'm going to eat, you're just eating your kids' scraps and their leftovers. Like, oh, how many crusts have I eaten for my kids? Because like, I don't want to eat that. And I'm like, great, I'll just eat what their leftovers. It's like, is that really supporting my internal self-care? Is that me taking care of me? No, that's putting me last, right? So being thoughtful and intentional about how you're feeding yourself and recognizing there's foods that give me energy. There's foods that just make me want to be horizontal and go to sleep, right? Food coma.
Yep.
And making sure that we're feeding ourselves regularly as well, right? The concept of hangry is real.
It's real for me. If it's real for me, if you know my family, they know.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So the second E, the fourth letter, stands for exercise, for movement. And it's not, and I'm not saying like 45 minutes, an hour every day. If you can do that, great. But when I say exercise, and it's better than the letter M for movement, I would have preferred M, but my acronym wouldn't work so well.
Sure.
So it's getting these micro movements, right? Whether it's hula hooping between meetings, which I do, that's my gold hula hoop over there.
Nice.
Or the mini dance party, turning on a song, or doing 5 push-ups before after you get out of bed, before you start your day routine, having these moments where you're just getting the blood flowing and getting the body moving, because we're not meant to be sedentary creatures. Society has set us up that way, right? That we just sit all day in front of a screen, doing our thing. But that's not what our bodies are meant to be doing. And we know this for our kids. Again, and as teachers, we know this for the children, that they need to move. They need to move. PE is so important, getting out at snack time and recess and at lunch to move their bodies, because then they can come back into the classroom and be so much more calm because they had the chance to get their wiggles out, right? And same for us. We don't want to be these caged animals, because when we are, you see the sadness and it just affects mood. It affects our ability to see the world more clearly, and all of it calm.
Yes. Agreed. Totally.
Okay. The last letter of the word cheer, R, stands for rest. So getting back to sleep, but rest is also an umbrella, right? So there's sleeping well or as consistently as we can. New parents have a harder time with that, of course, but being able to try at least to get consistent, solid sleep, and then also allowing for moments of rest when needed, right? During the day. Sometimes it needs to be that every day there should be, a block of time where I'm just going to lie down and take a nap, or I'm just going to turn off my brain from all the things that I need to do just for 10 minutes and do something else, right? For a walk, to just sit quietly with my eyes closed, to meditate, to again, listen to music, whatever it is, but to rest the mind, right? And give yourself these moments, because then you come back so much more refreshed when you have a turn off time, right? Like just like our devices, sometimes we just need to shut them off, turn them back on, and they work so much better. It's the same for us. We just need to shut off. And even if it's just briefly for a few minutes, we come back and we work so much better when we've had that moment to rest.
Accurate. Wow. These are great. I mean, what a great acronym too, because you can really remember it. Now we have no excuse. We have some really tangible actions we can take. Something that is really important to me in the work that we do at Evolved is to bring ideas to people's lives, but more so to bring actions that make the difference. So I really appreciate the way that you teach us how to instill this calm, Jenna. So how could people find you? Where could they find your book? Tell them where to get more.
Absolutely. So my website, where you can find all the things related to what I do in the book, and I have downloadables, free downloadable resources as well, are on my website at jennahermans.com. I'm also on Instagram, Jenna Z Hermans, LinkedIn, Jenna Hermans. You can just Google Jenna Hermans, you will find me, and Google Chaos to Calm, Jenna, or Chaos to Calm 5 Ways. The book will be found. You can buy the book anywhere books are sold. I recommend going to your local bookstore, and if they don't already have it in stock, they can get it for you. And then you're supporting local while also getting the products that you want. And I know how busy all of you are. And for myself too, I take in a lot of my books through Audible or through Libby, or basically through an audio version of books. And so the book is available through audio as well.
That's wonderful. Yes, I was so pleased to know that. And it was really helpful for me to listen to your book. So Jenna, thank you so much for coming on today and talking with us about these really amazing ideas. I know I learned a lot, and I'm excited to do the work that you're teaching us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Evolved Education. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and write a review. You can send any school-related questions to admin@evolveded.com. That's admin@evolveded.com, and we'll be sure to address your questions in upcoming episodes. To learn more about how we can support you, go to evolvededucationcompany.com and book a complimentary 15-minute call with a member of our team. Are you a professional educator? You can join our teaching school and receive training and support. Come on by and learn more about our impressive community.